Chapter 1. Hey guys, tonight we're heading way back. Before pyramids, before scrolls, before breakfast cereal. You're curled under a rocky outcrop, a sliver of sky peeking through the entrance, and twilight is beginning to sink like syrup across the land. The wind smells faintly of moss and something smoky. Your clan's fire, still sputtering as someone pokes it back to life. You've got sore feet from chasing rabbits all day, a belly grumbling in a language older than hunger, and a brain already starting to slow down as the world dims. You might think life back then was all action, hunting, running, grunting, surviving. But honestly, you spent a lot of time just waiting for the sun to do something. And now, as night creeps over the savannah or forest, or wherever your ancestors ended up, the most important part of the day is about to begin. Not dying in your sleep. Fun times. Hey love, before you settle in, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you're really enjoying what I'm sharing here. It makes a bigger difference than you might think. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where and when you're watching from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The sun has just dipped below the horizon. You glance west, where the fading orange light stretches over hills you've walked since you could almost walk upright. No clocks, no phone notifications, no dinner reservations, just the internal tick of habit. Your body knows it's time. You stretch out your arms, shake your legs, and let out a low, involuntary grunt, somewhere between a sigh and a yawn. That's the first signal. You're not alone. Others in your group are doing the same. A communal stretch, a tribal exhale. The sky is rapidly deepening to indigo. Shadows get longer and blurrier until everything seems wrapped in charcoal. Light was your only defense out here, and you're quickly losing it, which means it's time to shut it all down. The gathering, the foraging, the rock-throwing competitions. Someone, probably that older guy with the scar, starts kicking dirt over some half-finished berry pile. Another's whittling slows to nothing. Everyone starts returning to the sleeping area. That semicircle of flattened grass and scattered pelts near the cave mouth or central fire. And sure, bedroom might be a stretch, but it's got that undeniable vibe. The shift from active to passive, from hunter to nester. It's easy to imagine these early humans as emotionless survival machines. But tonight, you'd notice how gently someone pats a younger cousin's head before settling down. Someone else drapes a scrap of hide over a sleeping partner. These gestures aren't just for warmth. They're for peace. The unspoken understanding. We made it through another day. Twilight rituals weren't written down, but they were consistent. Some clans had special stones they rubbed for luck. Others might place offerings at the base of a tree or whisper thanks to the stars. There's evidence in cave sites that people buried little keepsakes near where they slept. A carved figure, a pretty feather, maybe a bead made of bone. The original nightstand clutter. And yeah, we romanticize it now, but it was risky business. If you didn't wrap up your pre-sleep routine before darkness fell, good luck finding the dropped spur point or, not getting eaten. That golden hour between sunset and true dark was sacred, both calming and slightly frantic. The smell of ash and old meat lingers in the air. It's familiar, almost cozy. You sit down on your usual patch, a flat spot with fewer pokey rocks than the others. Your elbows brush someone else's as you lower yourself, but no one complains. Closeness is comfort, and also protection, and you don't need a bedtime playlist. Out here, nature provides. Crickets chirping, leaves rustling, some distant thing howling. Probably fine. Probably not headed this way. Historians still argue whether early humans truly followed circadian rhythms like ours, or if they dozed off in scattered shifts. Some say it was polyphasic sleep, little naps strung together like beads. Others think we crashed hard for hours after sunset. It probably varied, depending on the danger, the weather, or just who had gas from those weird tubers. You're watching the light drain from the sky, eyelids heavier by the minute. You've got no concept of 8 hours, just the deepening hush that tells you rest is near. One more log tossed on the fire, one last check for snakes, a few soft grunts that mean, don't snore too loud tonight. And just before your eyes close, a thought drifts through your tired brain. We did it. You lived another day in a world that tried very hard to kill you. And now, the dark has come, and you're still here. Chapter 2. The fire crackles like it's got something to say, and you scoot a little closer, knees tucked to your chest. It's not just warmth you're after, it's presence. That low ember glow becomes the heart of the group, the pulse that keeps everything steady as night presses in. You glance around. Faces are lit in flickers, soft shadows playing across high cheekbones, heavy eyelids, cracked lips that curl into the occasional lazy grin. Nobody really talks much now, just murmurs, soft chuckles, the occasional snort if someone accidentally inhales a bug mid-sentence. The louder stories were for earlier, when the sun was still politely above the treetops. Now you've reached what can only be called campfire after dark, a time when stories get slower, the jokes more mumbly, and even laughter feels like it's wearing a blanket. You shift your weight onto one hip, poke at a pebble, and listen in as 2 older cousins retell a tale about the time a wild pig chased the healer straight into a muddy creek. You've heard it before, everyone has, but somehow it gets funnier the sleepier you are. And anyway, it's not about the plot. It's about the rhythm, the soothing rise and fall of words, the pauses where everyone knows what's coming next. Humans, even the stone-carrying, loincloth-draped kind, were deeply social. Anthropologists say our brains are wired to bond over shared experiences, especially the scary and silly ones. Fireside storytelling was basically the OG Netflix, except with more smoke and slightly higher odds of catching fleas. Tonight, someone tosses a bone onto the fire and watches it sizzle. A faint smell of roasted marrow drifts up, and your stomach gurgles appreciatively. You've already eaten, but somehow, a few extra bites wouldn't hurt. There's always that one guy still gnawing on a charred rabbit leg, like he's the last man alive with molars. He sees you looking and raises an eyebrow as if to say, you had your chance. Fair. There's a hierarchy to sitting near the fire, but it's subtle. Elders and wounded stay closest. Younger ones sit near the outer ring, not quite in the cold, but definitely a draft away. You're somewhere in the middle, which suits you fine. Not too exposed. Not too babe-eyed. Goldilocks would be proud. The fire keeps speaking in its own language. Hiss. Pop. Crack. A faint drifting ember floats upward, and you follow it with your eyes until it disappears into the dark canopy above. Your shoulders relax a little more. You feel safe, which is weird because you are absolutely not. There are wolves out there, or lions, or something worse with too many teeth and a bad attitude. But right now, the smell of smoke cloaks the camp in invisibility. Or at least you like to think so. Historians still argue whether early humans believed fire itself was sacred or just useful. But either way, they knew how to respect it, how to build it, feed it, watch it like a moody pet that could eat your shelter if you annoyed it. The fire is hypnotic. Even now, your gaze keeps slipping into it, letting the flames do that weird little dance where they turn blue, then gold, then back to orange. You wonder how your ancestors first made it, which unlucky genius figured out that hitting certain rocks together could make sparks. Did they yell Eureka, or just grunt excitedly and set something on fire by accident? And then there's the smoke. It stings a little, but in a way that feels comforting. Like sitting behind a barbecue grill, except this grill also keeps ghosts and bears away. And mosquitoes. Probably. You lean your head back for a moment, eyes half-lidded. Someone lets out a low hum, a lullaby, maybe, or just a melody passed down so long no one remembers where it came from. It has no words, but you feel it in your chest, like a heartbeat outside your own. Even the kids stop wiggling and go quiet. That's the real test of a good night song, whether it can silence a child with a sugar root buzz. Your limbs are getting heavier. You shift closer to the fire again, just enough to let the warmth soak into your side. The fur pelt you're sitting on is shedding in tufts, but you don't care. It's softer than dirt, and dirt was your mattress yesterday. A gentle rustle nearby. Someone's shuffling to the edge of camp to relieve themselves, probably. Another tosses a stick into the fire like they're making an offering to the gods asleep. One of the dogs, yes, even Stone Age folks had furry pals, lets out a low, sleepy woof, and then sighs deeply. The kind of sigh that says, "Don't expect me to protect anyone until sunrise." There's something ancient in this moment, something every modern brain secretly craves. The communal wind down, the reminder that we don't have to carry the end of the day alone. The unspoken agreement that for now, we rest together. Your eyes droop a bit more. Someone chuckles at a private joke. Another hums again. The flames hiss back in reply. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls out its haunting greeting, and not a single person looks startled. Because this is how every day ends, wrapped in warmth, stories, and that beautiful silence that only arrives when fire and family take the night watch. Chapter 3. The smell hits you before you even look. Rich, savory, smoky. There's something unmistakably comforting about cooked meat, even if half of dinner had to be chased through a thorny ravine. Someone's using a flint blade to slice roasted muscle off a thick bone, steam still rising from it. The fire pops louder now, spitting grease from the marrow dripping down. You're not alone in watching. Half the group buys the food like it's the season finale of survival. This is a moment of victory. The hunt today was successful, not just because something was brought down, but because everyone came back. Well, mostly everyone. That one guy limping from a boar jab still counts. He's proudly gnawing on a chunk of rib like it's his trophy. You shuffle forward on your haunches, reaching for a smaller bone. Not everyone gets the juicy parts, but tonight you're lucky. The heat stings your fingertips, and you do that instinctive, flinchy thing, tossing it from palm to palm until it cools just enough to bite into. It tastes like ash, adrenaline, and something vaguely resembling venison. Not bad. Meals at night were more than just refueling. They were a reward, a ritual, a way to retell the day through bites and bursts. You chew slowly, and someone nearby, probably the loud uncle of the group, starts narrating the hunt like it was some epic saga. You know, the part where he definitely wasn't hiding behind a bush while the others did most of the work. Mainstream archaeology agrees. Early humans didn't just eat around the fire. They shared. Meat was divided with a rough kind of fairness, with bones going to the strong-jawed and scraps to the kids and elders. Eating was communal, and also strategic. Everyone knew who the real hunters were, but no one said it out loud. Survival required egos to be softly patted, like the inside of an old mammoth skull. But let's talk about marrow. That sticky, rich center inside big bones. That was the good stuff. You'd crack open femurs with heavy stones, scoop out the fatty insides, and pass them around like prized chocolates. It was one of the highest calorie rewards you could get without inventing deep fryers. Some anthropologists argue that marrow was the reason early humans began using tools more regularly. Others say it was just desperation dressed up as innovation. Historians still debate whether the earliest cracked bones were from deliberate hunting or just us scavenging leftovers from saber-toothed tiger parties. You're licking your fingers now, already feeling that drowsy fullness creep in. The heat from the food adds to the warmth of the fire, and soon you're slouched, elbow resting on your knee, watching the smoke spiral upward like some sleepy serpent. There's a rhythm to this whole scene. Eat, groan softly, tell the same story with minor upgrades, and then pass out in a meat coma. But don't get too comfortable. Someone always brings out the weird snack. Tonight, it's roasted locusts. Crunchy, nutty, slightly horrifying. You're offered one, and you hesitate, until the smallest child in the group eats 3 in a row and dares you with their eyes. Fine, you bite. It's okay. The crunch is satisfying. The legs? Not so much. Not all meals were feasts. Sometimes it was roots, or berries, or bark stew, which we do not recommend unless you enjoy the taste of disappointment. But tonight, it's a real celebration. The protein high buzzes through your tired limbs, and someone lets out a happy, sleepy yodel that quickly turns into a fake snore. Everyone laughs. Your mind drifts, mid-chew, to tomorrow. There will be more hunting, probably. More foraging. Maybe the fish traps will finally catch something other than angry eels. But for now, you're present. Here, glowing in the firelight. Full in a way that's both physical and something else. You look down at the bone in your hand. Just a smooth white arc now, picked clean. You toss it toward the pile, where dogs or early wolves in residence sniff eagerly for leftovers. One growls softly, more from formality than threat. You and the others know the rules. Bones belong to whoever wins the quiet tug-of-war. And then, just when you think the meal is done, someone pulls out something you hadn't expected. Honey. Not much. Just a sticky hunk of comb tucked in a stone bowl. A rare treat. You lean forward, dip a fingertip in, and taste the sweetness. It's wild, tangy, and completely out of place in this smoky, earthy world. And yet, it fits, like dessert in a land with no word for dessert. Some theories suggest that early humans had a sweet tooth long before civilization. Honey, wild figs, even roasted chestnuts might have been occasional indulgences. And when you stumbled on them, it was party time. Biochemically speaking, it makes sense. Glucose before a long night is a pretty great sleep aid, after all. As the last bites are licked away and sticky fingers wiped on whatever isn't already filthy, the conversation slows again. Some folks lean back. Others recline all the way down, pelts pulled over their shoulders like prehistoric divots. You sit cross-legged, one hand on your now warm belly, the other absently drawing spirals in the dust. That's the thing about these evenings. They sneak up on you. One moment you're gnawing on a rabbit rib, the next you're halfway to dreaming, soothed by the scent of fire and meat and the soft snuffling of tired voices. Above you, the stars are starting to push through the smoke haze, one by one. And as someone mutters a final joke about how the mammoth practically offered itself, you let your eyelids rest. You're full, you're safe-ish, and you're drifting. Chapter 4. You shift your weight, twisting slightly to one side, and feel a sharp jab from an unfriendly rock hiding under your blanket of dried grass. With a grumble, you sit up and start fixing it. Because yes, even in the Stone Age, your version of a bed could be wildly uncomfortable. But here's the thing, you've been improving it. Slowly, over time. Maybe you didn't invent adjustable memory foam, but you did figure out that a thick pile of woven grasses works better than just lying flat on the ground like a cold potato. You learned to layer bark, reeds, furs, whatever keeps your ribs from bruising overnight. And tonight, you've added something new, a mat of braided palm fronds. Not exactly Tempur-Pedic, but hey, it's progress. Your sleeping area is personal, in a weirdly sacred sort of way. Sure, it's shared space, but your spot? That's yours. It smells like you. It's where your things, whatever prized objects you've hoarded, get tucked under a flat stone or soft pouch. Maybe a favorite pebble with a satisfying weight, or a shard of flint you swear sparks better than the others. Maybe even a dried flower you found 2 moons ago and just couldn't throw away. Humans are nesters by nature. Even now, you adjust the position of your sleeping pelt, fold it just so, and tap the ground 3 times. A quiet ritual, something you do without thinking. Anthropologists believe early humans practiced micro-habits like these. Little behaviors repeated night after night to build familiarity and soothe the mind. Call it bedtime routine, Caveman edition. You lie back down. It's not soft, but it's yours. The mat crackles a little beneath you, like someone crumpling paper in very slow motion. You close your eyes, then open them again. Nope, still not quite right. You sit up, reposition the fur, shove away another rock, and lie down again. Much better. Comfort is relative. You've spent entire nights sleeping in trees during long migrations. You've napped in bushes, under ledges, and once even half inside a hollow log that smelled suspiciously like porcupine. So this is luxury. Historians still argue whether early bedding was made with long-term comfort in mind, or just a temporary barrier against bugs and cold. Recent digs in South Africa uncovered layered plant bedding over 200,000 years old, complete with insect-repelling herbs. That's not accidental. That's prehistoric interior design. Speaking of herbs, someone across the fire is chewing on something. You can smell it from here. Minty, bitter, earthy. Probably wild wormwood or some type of calming root. People in your group believe these things help with dreams, or stomach aches, or snake bites, or everything at once. No one's really sure. You tried chewing it once and immediately regretted it. Tasted like tree sadness. Back in your own space, you adjust again. One elbow under your head, one leg bent to keep your back from cramping. The mat creaks once more as it settles beneath your weight. It's kind of beautiful, actually, how your body slowly memorizes what comfort feels like, even without a mattress or pillow. One of the elders nearby is snoring, not loud, but steady, like a drumbeat muffled by fur. It's oddly reassuring. You look over and spot their setup, layers of woven reeds and what looks like bird feathers stuck into the edges. Decorative or practical? No one knows. Probably both. Early humans weren't just inventing beds. They were inventing bed style. You remember when a cousin tried to bring in a piece of tanned hide with fringe all over it. They called it a sleep cloak. Everyone made fun of them for a week. But joke's on them. It was warmer. Now half the group has copied the idea, including you. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, or just the easiest way to stop freezing at 3 a.m. Someone sneezes. You flinch, not because of germs. Germs haven't been invented yet, at least not conceptually, but because sudden noises at night tend to trigger every survival instinct you've got. You sit up slightly, squint into the dark. Nothing. Probably just dust, or tree pollen, or the fire gods reminding you to stop hogging the blanket. You pull your fur tighter, shift once more, and then let your body start to settle. You can hear the gentle thuds of others doing the same. Someone thumping their mat, someone shaking out a pelt, someone grumbling as they lose the warmest spot to a very determined dog. The settling process is communal, messy, full of sleepy curses and soft laughter. You stare upward now. If you're lucky, you have a view of the night sky through the cave mouth or canopy gaps. Stars blink down at you like old friends, ancient and distant, and totally uninterested in your lumpy mat. Your breathing slows. The mat is beginning to match your body's shape. It won't remember you tomorrow, but for now, you've left an impression. A little echo of your presence in grass and hide. It's enough. And just as you start to drift, your foot brushes another small rock. Of course, you sigh, roll over, and fall asleep anyway. Chapter 5. The night is far from silent, even when you're trying to rest. Somewhere close by, a sentinel sits upright, eyes sharp like a hawk's, scanning the edges of camp. You know this role well. It's the unofficial job of those who refuse to fully surrender to sleep, the night watch. Someone always has to keep an ear out for the rustle of predator paws, or the snap of a twig. Because yes, the wilderness doesn't exactly send a polite good night text. You nudge yourself awake, shifting your gaze toward the watcher. Their face is dimly lit by a small fire pit, eyes reflecting the flames. They might be grumbling quietly about their luck, or maybe just debating the existential question: do saber-toothed cats actually fear smoke, or is it all just legend? Historians still argue whether smoke really kept large predators at bay, or if it was the noise and movement that did the trick. Either way, it's one of the first documented security systems in human history. The rotation is methodical. After a set time, the watch passes to another, who yawns widely, stretches, and takes up the post. It's an unspoken pact, a communal effort to keep everyone safe while most sleep. You admire the stubbornness of the sentry who stays up when all you want is to collapse face first into your pelt. The watcher has a long spear propped nearby, ready if needed. It's a simple weapon, but effective, sharp enough to pierce, heavy enough to swing. The craftsmanship shows years of trial and error. Wood carved smooth, tip hardened by fire, wrapped with sinew for grip. You think about how important these little details are in the night. One careless slip, and things get messy. But that's why the watch exists. Occasionally, the sentry makes soft noises, grumbles, whistles, even low murmurs that might be a psalm or a prayer. You lean in to listen, but can't quite make out the words. Maybe it's a lullaby for the dangerous night. Maybe it's a shaman's chant to keep evil spirits at bay. The truth is lost to time, but the intention is clear, warding off danger with voice and vigilance. Meanwhile, back in the camp, sleepers are restless. Some shift positions, trying to find warmth or escape the itch of insect bites. You catch the glint of eyes adjusting to dark, the twitch of muscles relaxing and tightening in cycles. It's not perfect sleep. Nothing about prehistoric life was, but it's sleep nonetheless. Animals, both wild and domesticated, share this vigil. Wolves lounge nearby, their keen senses complementing human caution. They're part of the watch team, whether the clan admits it or not. Historians still debate when humans first domesticated wolves, or if early dogs were just opportunistic scavengers who decided humans made good roommates. Either way, their partnership tonight feels almost symbiotic. Sometimes the sentry uses fire to send signals, a sudden flare-up, a long plume of smoke, or the deliberate placement of a glowing ember. These subtle signs communicate across distances, warning others of threats or simply marking territory. You can almost hear the ancient equivalent of a "hey, all clear" text. You notice the crispness of the air, how the temperature drops noticeably in the watcher's spot, away from the fire's heat. Their breath forms tiny clouds, a gentle reminder of the cold that creeps in during these hours. You admire their resolve. It's not an easy job, and yet it's one of the most critical. There's a rhythm to the night watch, a dance between alertness and fatigue. The sentry's eyes flicker, then focus again. Fingers tighten around spear shafts. Every rustle could be wind or something else. You know the feeling well, that primal mix of exhaustion and adrenaline. Back at camp, muffled snores rise and fall like waves. The sentry's steady breathing is a counterpoint, a living barrier between safety and chaos. It's a delicate balance, one maintained by ancient teamwork and raw instinct. You think about the stories that might have grown from these nights, the whispered legends of the brave souls who kept the fires burning and the beasts at bay. Without them, there would be no dawn. And as your eyelids droop again, you silently thank whoever invented the night watch. Because sometimes, the best sleep comes with knowing someone's still awake. Chapter 6. The flickering firelight casts shifting shadows on the cave walls, and your eyes drift to the ochre handprints and swirling patterns painted centuries ago by ancestors not so different from yourself. You trace the faded images with your gaze. A woolly mammoth here, a hunting scene there, and a cluster of red dots that look almost like stars. These marks are more than decoration. They're a language, a prayer, a memory caught in pigment. As you lie back, the rough stone beneath you seems to hum with stories. You imagine the artists, careful, deliberate, perhaps whispering to one another as they mixed their natural pigments from crushed minerals and charcoal. Maybe they debated the best spots on the cave walls to place their works, or whether painting at night brought better inspiration. Some believe these images were meant to protect the tribe, warding off evil or attracting good hunts. Others argue they were simply early attempts at storytelling, a way to preserve memories when words failed. Historians still argue whether cave paintings were practical guides for hunts or spiritual portals to another world. Some recent research suggests that the act of painting itself may have been a trance-inducing ritual, helping shamans access visions during liminal times, those moments just before sleep or dawn. You squint and try to pick out the familiar shapes in the darkness, feeling the strange comfort in their presence. These ancient murals are the original nightlights, softly glowing in your imagination, guiding you toward rest. The air around you carries the faint scent of burnt resin and crushed berries, the natural binders used to make paint stick. You breathe it in slowly. It's earthy, a bit sweet, and strangely soothing, like a whisper from the past. As your fingers idly trace the rough cave wall near your head, you feel the texture of small indentations, perhaps marks made by the artist's tools or even their fingernails. It's tactile proof of human presence, a connection reaching through millennia. You notice a faint breeze that carries dust motes swirling in the firelight, making the painted shapes appear to dance. The movement is hypnotic, lulling your mind toward a calm, dreamlike state. Someone nearby hums a soft tune, a melody that seems ancient and universal, like it could have been sung in this very cave thousands of years ago. The notes float and mingle with the crackling fire and distant calls of night birds, creating a natural lullaby. You wonder if the artists who created these images ever intended them to be seen in the dark, bathed in firelight. Perhaps the flicker was part of the magic, bringing the figures to life, animating stories to soothe the tribe before sleep. A shadow flickers at the cave entrance, a small animal, maybe a fox or a badger, pausing before disappearing into the night. It's a reminder that the world beyond your safe circle is alive and watching. But for now, the painted walls and warm fire hold you safe. You think back to the ochre dots and sweeping lines, imagining the hands that made them, steady yet trembling with purpose. It's humbling, this bridge between ancient creativity and your own quiet moment under the stars. As your breathing slows, you feel the weight of those silent stories settling around you, a comforting shroud woven by pigments and time. Chapter 7. Your jaw relaxes as the night deepens, and you find yourself chewing absent-mindedly on a small root someone handed you earlier. A humble little thing with a surprisingly strong, earthy bitterness. It's valerian root, or something close enough, that your group has been experimenting with for its calming properties. You've heard whispers that it helps soothe the mind and ease restless nights, a kind of Stone Age sleep aid before the invention of pillows and warm milk. As the taste lingers on your tongue, you wonder how someone first stumbled upon this sleepy little root. Was it an accident, a desperate chew during a long night when sleep just wouldn't come? Or was it discovered deliberately by a healer trying to ease the wild nerves of a hunter plagued by nightmares? The process is slow and cautious. Too much can cause dizziness, but just enough brings a gentle drift toward rest. Your fingers tap lightly on your thigh, matching the rhythm of your slowing heart. Around you, others chew on similar herbs, Some pass quietly from hand to hand like precious medicine. It's a ritual, subtle but profound, a shared moment of trust in nature's hidden offerings. Historians still argue whether these early herbal remedies were passed down through formal teaching or discovered individually by trial and error. Some suggest that women, often the primary gatherers and healers, held the knowledge and guarded it closely, weaving it into the fabric of their communities. You close your eyes briefly, the earthy bitterness fading into a background warmth that spreads slowly through your body. It's not like the instant knockout of modern pharmaceuticals. This is a gentle nudge, a whisper coaxing your mind toward the edges of sleep. The campfire's glow flickers softly nearby, casting long shadows and making the night feel less empty, less cold. You breathe in deeply, tasting the mix of smoke, crushed roots, and damp earth. Somehow, this strange blend makes your racing thoughts slow, as if nature itself is telling you it's okay to rest. There's a moment of quiet laughter as someone nearby makes a joke about sleep gummies from the Stone Age, and you chuckle softly, appreciating the humor even as your eyelids grow heavier. It's easy to feel the kinship here, a group of humans, bound by the same needs and the same simple comforts, even as the world outside remains wild and unpredictable. You're aware of the debate among scholars about how much control early humans had over their sleep cycles. Some believe they were deeply attuned to natural rhythms, the rise and fall of moonlight, the calls of nocturnal animals, while others argue that restless nights were common, and sleep was fragmented and unpredictable. But tonight feels different. The combination of herbal calm, warm bodies nearby, and the fire's steady heartbeat creates a cocoon of safety. Your body begins to let go, muscles unwinding, thoughts softening. A nearby voice hums a low melody, maybe a lullaby or a chant to the spirits, mingling with the crackle of fire and the distant hoot of an owl. It's a soothing soundtrack, ancient and timeless. As the Valyrian's gentle touch settles in, you stretch out fully on your makeshift mattress, pulling the fur blanket higher. The heaviness in your limbs is welcome now, a sign that your body is ready to slip into the slow, restorative cycles of sleep. You breathe in once more, the night air cool against your skin, the taste of roots fading, but the sense of calm lingering. The fire dims slightly, embers glowing like soft stars, and your mind drifts softly toward dreams. Chapter 8. The sounds of the night surround you, a gentle symphony of rustling leaves, distant water trickling, and the occasional soft hoot from an owl perched somewhere just beyond sight. At first, you simply notice the noise the way you might notice breathing, unconsciously, without effort. But as you settle deeper into stillness, each texture of sound takes on a life of its own. Leaves glide against one another like silk robes brushing in a dim corridor. Water meets stone in hushed conversation, syllables dissolving into a liquid hush. Somewhere far off, a cricket saws a tentative note, testing the quiet like a musician tuning before the concert begins. You close your eyes and let these natural rhythms seep into your consciousness, sensing your breath with the subtle cadences of the wilderness. It is a lullaby without words, one that has been playing since time immemorial, long before human voices learned to coax melody from hollow bone flutes. The darkness feels alive, not in a threatening way, but like a companion whose cool arms wrap gently around your shoulders, guiding you closer to sleep. There is a touch of mystery, of course. Darkness has always carried a flicker of the unknown, but tonight it feels more like velvet than danger, more like sanctuary than void. Your mind drifts to the way early humans must have learned to listen, truly listen, to the whispers of the night and the hidden cues that told them when danger lurked or when it was safe to rest. In those days, blackout curtains did not separate the tribe from the nocturnal world. Shade was cast only by cliff sides, rock overhangs, or the thick canopies of ancient forests. A single spark from a central hearth might have painted trembling halos on every face, yet beyond the glow stretched fathomless dark. To survive, they tuned their lives to the pulse of night until every rustle, splash, and bellow became fluent in meaning. Owls, in particular, seem like the guardians of this timeless shift. Their hoots pierce the quiet, low, deliberate, almost meditative. And each call feels less like a warning than a reminder that others wake and watch while you sleep. In folklore from nearly every region, owls keep vigil at the threshold between worlds, spirit and matter, day and night, life and death. Tonight their calls float through the canopy like slow heartbeats, marking the chapters of the deep night. You wonder how many thousand generations relied on that same sound. Perhaps the night bird's cries served as the Stone Age's gentle alarm, telling half-dozing hunters that the darkest watch was nearly done, and the silver edge of dawn would soon lift the horizon. No sundial, no clockwork gears, only winged sentinels repeating the hours. Historians still debate whether Pleistocene people consciously used these sounds to regulate their sleep, or simply absorbed them the way lungs absorb air. Some paleoanthropologists argue that recognizing predator calls, frog choruses, or wind direction gave tribes a circadian scaffold as robust as any mechanical timepiece. Others suggest the connection was subtler, an example of embodied knowledge rather than articulated rule. Whatever the mechanism, the skill likely proved vital. Those who interpreted the cries of nightjars or the abrupt hush of insect chatter could detect approaching danger or changes in weather. Over time, such auditory literacy might take on cultural meanings. A lull in the frog song could signal a coming chill. A sudden chorus of tree crickets might hint at imminent rain. The missing hoot of a resident owl could mean an intruder stalking in the dark. Your breathing slows further as the night deepens. The cool air brushes against your skin like stream water over worn stone, and you pull your fur blanket, or its modern equivalent, closer, feeling its comforting weight. Beneath the blanket's weave, you notice the steady drumbeat of your heart, each thump mirroring the solid earth beneath your back. Somewhere not far away, a river murmurs quietly, its current smoothing over stones in a rhythm older than language. People call recordings of that sound white noise today, packaging them into phone apps and bedside machines. But long before electronics, there was the real thing. A patient hymn of water weaving through night, soothing restless minds across countless millennia. A soft breeze shifts, curling through branches and carrying with it the scent of damp earth, crushed pine needles, and the faint musk of wildflowers closing for the night. One inhale, and you can map the world outside your shelter. There is a patch of ferns to the left, still beaded with dew, a blossoming shrub upstream. Maybe the ghost of a campfire smoke far enough away that its embers have cooled to memory. On another night, you might interpret these scents as cautionary signs. Smoke could mean rival clans or roaming beasts. But tonight, every fragrance feels like a lullaby instead of a threat, a sensory assurance that you inhabit a living tapestry rather than a void. Your thoughts drift to modern sleep science and the question that still intrigues researchers. Did early humans sleep in one uninterrupted block the way industrial life encourages, or did they doze in phases? Two shorter slabs of slumber separated by a gentle stretch of wakefulness. Observations of present-day hunter-gatherer societies lend weight to the second idea. People of the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in southern Africa, and the Cavemen in Bolivia often nap after dusk, rise for an hour or so under the stars, then nestle back down till morning. Anthropologists call it segmented sleep or polyphasic rest. Perhaps in that wakeful intermezzo, the sounds that cradle you now were their companions. The hush of wind, the tick of cooling stones, the far cry of a fox. Might they have whispered soft stories to each other, checked the banked fire, nursed infants, or crouched at the cave mouth to scan the moonlit scrub? From such small awakenings, modern rituals may descend. Midnight vigils, early hour prayers, even the phrase, the wee hours, recalls those slender slices of night when imagination floats free and the world is distilled to shadow and pulse. As your mind drifts, you imagine yourself woven into that ancient rhythm. You sit with companions in a half circle, embers glowing like a tiny constellation at your center. Sparks leap, swirl, and vanish in the darkness, mirroring meteors above. Someone hums, a melody older than memory, and the group joins softly until the tune rocks back and forth like a loose boat on gentle water. Beyond the ring of light, the steady rustle of tiny creatures scurrying across leaves reminds you that life continues outside human warmth. A twig cracks underfoot, maybe a deer's tentative step, or a porcupine's slow shuffle. No one startles. The night is sufficiently familiar that surprise gives way to acknowledgement. Everything voices its presence at an acceptable volume. Nothing clangers. Sleep feels close, yet it is not a sudden plunge but a gradual descent, like wading into a moonlit lake, where each step lowers you by degrees. Your thoughts slow, weaving through images of flickering firelight painting quivering shapes on stone walls. In your mind's eye, you see ochre-red handprints and charcoal buffaloes stride along a concave ceiling. You taste the earthy residue of valerian root, or perhaps sweetgrass still faint on your tongue, a calm drawn from the medicine bag of some long-ago shaman. Like them, you wrap ritual around slumber, touchstone habits that coax muscles into relaxation, coax wandering thoughts into the coral of dreams. A deep exhale, a silent invocation, a final tightening of the blanket's edge beneath your chin. The night sounds are drifting farther away now, blending into a single soothing hum. The owl's call, once distinct, melts into the hush of distant pine. The cricket's solo fades as though someone has gently lowered the volume knob. Only the wind lingers in your ears, a slow rise and fall that pairs with your own inhalations. You can't be sure where your breath ends, and the breeze begins. The boundaries between body and world blur, and that porousness feels strangely safe. For countless ancestors, such dissolution of self into the dark might have sparked caution. To lose track of boundaries was to invite surprise from tooth or claw. But tonight the only shapes in that overlap are kind. Even the unseen predators must dine elsewhere. The hush says, "Here, rest." In this softened space between waking and sleep, you recall stories of dream councils and vision quests. Shamans the world over have walked the seam of night, drawing power from the silence you now inhabit. Some say that in dream time, the veil of causality thins, and tomorrow's possibilities step forward for examination. Perhaps that is why ancient people listened so closely. They were eavesdropping on the weaving of fate. You wonder what threads the night weaves for you. Perhaps a glimmer of solution to a stubborn worry, or the faint echo of a loved one's laugh rising clear across time zones and years. Whatever gift awaits, you know it will emerge from the same furnace where myth was first forged, from neural sparks flaring under a canopy of stars. A sudden flicker at the camp's edge catches your attention, a ripple of luminous beetles, or maybe a gust stoking the last ember. The glow pops and then settles, a final punctuation mark telling you the earthly fire is content to rest. You feel gratitude bloom in your chest, a warmth independent of the blanket's weight. Gratitude for the intelligence of your senses, for the lineage of listeners before you, for the night itself daring to cradle your small flicker of consciousness. A yawn stretches your jaw wide. Muscles slacken. Thoughts drift like smoke. Time is losing relevance. You could be minutes from dusk or moments from dawn. Only the angle of moonlight would know, and you no longer care to ask. You understand now why elders described sleep not as surrender but as homecoming. To lie beneath sky with nothing between skin and cosmos except a breath of air is to remember the original contract. You belong to this earth, and it belongs to you. Night will guide the world around the dial of hours. Dawn will unroll its pastel banner without your coaxing. Your only task is to yield. At last, you feel the gentle weightlessness that means the final tether is slipping. The flicker of conscious thought dims like a coal under powdery ash. You sense, more than hear, your own heartbeat aligning with some pulse beneath the ground. A deep, almost geological throb. Above, stars traverse their ancient routes, silent but purposeful. If some astronomer measured the sky at this moment, They would note Jupiter hanging bright in the east, a white smear of the Milky Way overhead, maybe the faint tail of a comet no telescope yet cataloged. These facts matter in one way, because they place you precisely within the cosmic scheme, but they also don't matter at all, because you are not analyzing, only feeling. Still, the night grants you a last thought, like a bedtime story spoken inside your bones. We are travelers in time more than in space. Each cycle of sun and moon is a winding path you've walked a million times. With every revolution, you carry forward the listening skills of those who came before, the mother who sang beside a river, the scout who froze to parse a wolf's howl, the elders who marked the owl's third call and whispered, "Soon, the sky will pale." You are the sum of their attentions, the child of their careful ears. Your breathing becomes even and steady, matching the slow pulse of nature around you. Somewhere, a final owl call dissolves into the hush. The river keeps telling its pebble story. Leaves shift, then still. You do not notice. You are already inside the dream, moving through corridors of half-remembered places where firelight and starlight mingle in impossible ways. But if a waking thought could peek through, it might whisper this simple sentence. In this moment, you are part of something vast and timeless. The darkness holds you gently. The fire, real or imagined, guards your rest, and the night's enduring symphony guides you deeper into the ancient sea of sleep. A deep sigh escapes, one last token offered to the waking world. The chapter closes, not with a full stop but with an ellipsis, because the story will continue in dreams, featuring river lullabies, owl guardians, and the remembered wisdom of the night. And so you slip beneath the surface, buoyed by 2,000 words of shadow and starlight, trusting that dawn will arrive exactly when the earth is ready to sing its next verse. Chapter 9. You're just on the edge of slipping into full sleep when a distant noise nudges your awareness. A low, rhythmic thudding. It isn't sharp or alarming, but it slices gently through the quiet, like a heartbeat echoing through the forest floor. Your eyelids flutter open lazily, vision still foggy with sleep. Beyond the edge of the firelight, you catch the flicker of movement, subtle, shadowy, and familiar. A silhouette approaches with unhurried purpose, steady and deliberate. It's a fellow hunter returning from a late check on the traps. The figure doesn't rush. There's no tension in his stride, no frantic whisper of danger. Just a calm, practiced rhythm. He knows the camp is safe, and so do you. He steps lightly around the sleepers, careful not to disturb the fragile calm that blankets your small circle of life. There's a grace to his movement, almost ritualistic, like a dancer familiar with every stone and root beneath his feet. He settles quietly beside the group, offering only a soft rustle of clothing and the muted thud of gear finding its place beside him. In the stillness, even those small sounds seem amplified, yet somehow they add to the peace rather than breaking it. A whispered greeting passes between him and another barely awake figure near the fire. A shared glance, a quiet murmur, a hand gently lifted in acknowledgement. No need for full sentences. The language of this hour is sparse, sacred, and slow. These nightly rituals, though subdued, carry more meaning than loud words spoken in daylight. They reaffirm the silent pact you all live by: to watch, to care, to keep each other safe. Even in the heart of sleep, your community stays connected. There's always someone half awake, ears open, muscles just slack enough to rest, but tense enough to rise if needed. Like a heartbeat, the group pulses, some sleeping deeply, others drifting just beneath the surface. Together, this rhythm becomes your shared defense, your unspoken bond. It strikes you, not for the first time, how survival is never a solo endeavor. Out here, under the open sky, every life depends on the others. You rely on each other not just for food or protection, but for emotional warmth, for the comfort of knowing someone is always nearby, breathing the same night air, seeing the same stars. The strength of your tribe is in these quiet moments, in the trust you give freely, in the small shared gestures, And yes, even in the occasional funny grumbles when someone snores too loudly or shifts in their sleep with a dramatic sigh. In these moments, the idea of alone feels distant. It becomes hard to even imagine what it would be like to sleep in total isolation. You are cocooned in a network of watchful eyes and gentle hands, a living, breathing web woven by countless nights of shared rest. This safety net doesn't come from walls or weapons. It comes from people, from their presence, their heartbeat, their breath close to your own. You think about the role of touch, how early humans likely found comfort in the closeness of bodies. Whether it was to conserve warmth or to soothe anxieties, physical proximity was a silent language of care. The reassuring weight of a fur blanket draped over your shoulders, the soft brush of a hand against the back, a shoulder leaned against yours in sleep. These small gestures spoke volumes. No need for speech when touch could say, "I'm here. You're not alone." Some nights, a child might nestle closer to a parent or elder, burrowing under the shared furs with a quiet sigh. A partner might reach out in sleep, fingers brushing an ankle or shoulder. These moments are the physical poetry of your way of life, soft, grounding, and deeply human. Historians and anthropologists still debate how these social bonds evolved alongside sleep behaviors. Some argue that communal sleeping arrangements were a critical factor in human development, shaping not just safety, but empathy, cooperation, and even early language. In the dark, we learned to trust each other. In the dark, we found the first vocabulary of comfort. Others suggest these bonds were purely practical, defenses against predators, or a way to preserve body heat when fire couldn't quite reach everyone. But even if necessity birthed closeness, it doesn't diminish its beauty. Whether by design or instinct, the human capacity for comfort and companionship has always been a kind of magic. Your thoughts drift lazily, guided by the rhythm of breath and firelight. As your companion fully settles, you notice a faint rustle at the edge of camp, a soft skittering in the underbrush. Not loud, not dangerous, just the cautious movement of a small creature, a fox, maybe, or a badger sniffing the air with curiosity. There's something oddly respectful in the way these wild creatures skirt your camp, as if they understand, on some primal level, that this circle of warmth and sleep is sacred. You smile inwardly at the thought, an invisible truce between species, drawn by firelight and mutual need for rest. The fire's glow has dimmed now, its earlier blaze reduced to a bed of softly pulsing embers. The flames lick low and slow, casting long shadows that stretch and sway like silent dancers. You watch as a single spark drifts upward, twirling lazily through the air before vanishing into the dark canopy above. It looks like a tiny fleeting star, brief and beautiful. A reminder that even in the darkest hours, light endures. Your eyes grow heavier, your limbs looser. Around you, the soft chorus of sleep grows richer. The overlapping lullaby of snores, whispers, and quiet nighttime breaths. You can hear someone shifting gently beneath their blanket, the faint creak of a wooden staff nearby. Somewhere, a child stirs and then resettles, murmuring a half-dreamed word before slipping back into the comfort of slumber. The scent of the fire, smoke, ash, a touch of charred bark, lingers in the air like incense. Everything feels calm, contained, whole. You think back to the endless nights spent under vast skies, the stars your only ceiling, the earth your ever-willing mattress. There were no roofs to hide you from the universe, and that openness, rather than frightening, was somehow soothing. To sleep with the sky above is to remember your smallness and your belonging in the same breath. It's humbling and oddly comforting to be part of this ancient, unbroken chain of rest. All around you, the rhythmic breathing of your people creates a steady, grounding presence. Each inhale and exhale a soft metronome ticking through the silence. You imagine the collective dreams of your tribe weaving together like threads in a vast tapestry. Unspoken stories shared in the language of the subconscious, Perhaps someone is dreaming of a successful hunt, another of a lost loved one, another still aflight or falling, or a face they do not recognize. Yet all these dreams are held in the same space, stitched invisibly together beneath the stars. You wonder how many generations have passed like this, wrapped in firelight and trust, in silence and companionship. How many nights unfolded with the same sequence? The hunt, the meal, the stories, the fading of laughter into hush, and finally, the soft release into dreams. You are part of something timeless, something beyond the individual. And in that realization, you feel your mind loosen further from its waking grip. Your body surrenders fully now, the slow tide of sleep washing over you like a warm current. Muscles release their final tension. Your jaw slackens slightly. Breath becomes shallower, softer. The world narrows, not in fear, but in focus. All that remains is the soft glow of embers, the distant calls of night creatures, and the steady beat of your own heart. A final thought flits across your mind like a moth brushing the edge of a flame. There is deep safety here, not because danger is impossible, but because you are not alone in facing it. You are surrounded by kin, by memory, by instinct honed across 1,000 lifetimes. The night watches with you, not against you. You drift deeper, further, until the line between self and world blurs into quiet. Held safe by the fire, your companions, and the ancient rhythms of the night, you let go. Chapter 10. A gentle warmth seeps through your body as dawn approaches, softening the edges of the night. You don't notice the slow shift at first, the way the fire's glow turns from amber to pale orange, the way the chill in the air loosens its grip. Somewhere, the earliest birds begin their tentative calls, cautious heralds of a new day. You stir lightly, muscles still heavy with sleep, but there's a subtle change in the atmosphere. The world is waking, even if you aren't quite ready to follow suit. It's a slow, gradual rousing, like a whispered invitation rather than a rude alarm. You glance around and see others beginning to stretch, yawn, and rub the last vestiges of sleep from their eyes. Some sit up, scanning the horizon with tired but alert gazes. The night watch has ended, and now it's time for everyone to prepare for the day ahead. Morning routines start simply. Someone fetches water from a nearby stream, splashing it on their face to chase away the lingering fog of sleep. Others poke at the fire, coaxing it back to life with dry twigs and kindling. The smell of smoke rekindles your senses, and you find yourself grateful for the comforting presence of the flames. Breakfast isn't always elaborate, often just some foraged fruits or leftover cooked meat, but it's a necessary fuel for what's to come. You watch as a group gathers around a shallow pit where embers glow faintly, ready for the day's first meal. There's a quiet camaraderie in these moments, the shared understanding that, despite the hardships, you face the world together. Your group moves like a well-oiled machine, each person playing a vital role honed through countless sunrises. Historians still argue how structured early morning rituals were, whether they were spontaneous or guided by unspoken rules. Some evidence suggests that early humans developed patterns to maximize energy and efficiency, balancing rest with the pressing demands of survival. You take a deep breath, the crisp morning air filling your lungs. It's tinged with pine, earth, and the faint sweetness of blooming flowers. You savor the calm before the bustle, this precious pocket of peace when the world is just beginning to stir. Your mind drifts to the coming day's tasks, scouting for fresh water, repairing tools, teaching the young ones to track and hunt. Each challenge will demand focus and strength, but for now, you simply enjoy the slow awakening. The fire crackles steadily, casting long shadows that retreat as the sun climbs higher. You feel the reassuring weight of your furs and the steady heartbeat of your tribe around you. As you rise, the sense of connection and resilience settles warmly in your chest. This is your world, a blend of ancient rhythms, communal bonds, and the eternal dance between night and day. With one last glance at the fading embers, you step into the soft light of morning. ready to face whatever comes next. In the dim light, you can feel how the earth itself seems to breathe with you. Each inhalation draws in scents that were buried under the weight of night. Damp moss releasing its cool perfume, crushed grasses awakening with dew, and faint charcoal traces that cling to skin and hair like ancestral ink. There is no sharp boundary where darkness ends and day begins, only gradients of possibility, thin veils of color unfurling above the eastern hills. A gentle blush brushes the sky, then deepens to pink, then lavender, then a promising gold. Someone nearby hums a fragment of a tune, barely more than a vibration carried on the chill air. It is not a song with words, but a tone of appreciation, perhaps unconscious. A note so quiet you feel it in your ribs before you identify it with your ears. The melody mingles with birdsong, the river's murmur, the muted clack of stones as a pair of hands arranges a cooking surface. Together, these layered sounds compose a soft overture, dawn's first symphony, performed daily, yet never the same twice. As the light strengthens, intricate details emerge from the shadows. A spindle-shaped insect resting on a leaf, dew pearls strung along spider silk, the individual fibers of woven bark used to lash together a drying rack. Each small revelation feels like a gift, presented slowly so your mind can linger on its wonder. Over time, you have learned that morning is generous to the attentive eye. It will show you miracles if you promise not to rush past them. Someone calls your name in a gentle murmur, a reminder that you are needed to inspect the snares set near the tree line. You nod, acknowledging, then reach for your satchel where flint, twine, and a bone-handled knife wait, tucked inside like loyal companions. Muscle memory guides your movements, checking the edge of the knife, cinching the satchel strap across your chest, adjusting the wrap of fur around your shoulders so it won't impede your stride. These preparations, repeated hundreds of times, are more reassuring than any spoken pep talk. Before you leave camp, you pause at the fire, selecting a charred stick from the edge of the pit. With a practiced flick, you scribe a quick mark on a flat stone near the hearth, a simple symbol denoting the direction you plan to travel. Such markings are your tribe's quiet language of trails, a way to tell late risers where scouts have gone, where dangers were last seen, or where fresh forage may be found. You smile at the ingenuity of it, writing in its most primal form, etched not onto parchment, but onto the living stage of the earth itself. The children stir now, small shapes bundled in furs and blankets. One child blinks into the increasing light and emits a bleary giggle when a dog, a scruffy ally adopted from wolf stock generations ago, licks an exposed cheek. The elders, those who carry decades of sunrises in their faces, watch the scene with fond eyes, then begin their own slow rituals, stretching aching joints, rolling shoulders, feeling the day's weather in old scars. Experience has its price, but also its gifts. They will advise on routes, rid the sky for storms, and remember stories that warn against repeating past mistakes. No one commands the morning strictly, yet tasks unfold in an unspoken sequence. Skilled hands inspect the integrity of spear tips fashioned from knapped stone. Another pair braids sinew into a bowstring, testing it with a gentle pull, listening for the right twang. Nearby, two gatherers sort last evening's finds. Nuts still in shells, berries stained crimson black, and a cluster of mushrooms whose edibility will be decided after careful comparison with the elders' recollections. A mistake could prove fatal, yet the system rarely fails, a testament to collective memory. You kneel to examine the fire once more, coaxing new life into it because some of the younger ones will remain behind. You add a few knotty pine branches, relishing the hiss of resin as it meets the heat. Thin smoke coils upward, catching the first strong beam of sunlight and illuminating it like a spotlight on a dancer's swirling ribbon. For a moment, you watch that column of smoke and imagine it as a tether between earth and sky, a visible thread tying your fragile human endeavor to the boundless heavens. Memory wanders. You recall nights when the fire's glow had to be muted beneath a barrier of stones lest rival bands or predators catch sight of it. You remember mornings when hunger gnawed with sharper teeth than any wolf, prompting riskier hunts into unknown valleys. Yet you also remember triumphs. The first time a young hunter brought down a deer with a bough he had carved himself. The evening when a new plant dye turned hides a brilliant orange that glowed even in twilight. Life has been perilous, but it has also been vibrant. Historians who study bones and hearth sites draw charts and timelines trying to map what each era ate for breakfast. They debate whether structured mornings began with the discovery of fire or with the taming of the dog, whether rituals were spiritual or merely pragmatic. If they could stand here now, feel the warmth of ember and the nip of dawn wind, perhaps they would understand that the answer is both. Spirituality and pragmatism are threads of the same braid. Reverence for life and mastery of it twine so closely they cannot be separated. Above, the sky has shifted yet again. The pink glow intensifies into a gilded orange, then softens at the edges with pale blue. Cloud wisps, thin as breath, catch the color and become brushstrokes of molten gold. One elder, her hair silver like river spray, points with her staff and murmurs a blessing to the sun, an invocation you learned as a child. You mouth the words now, tasting their ancient resonance. Gratitude for warmth, for light to ripen fruit and chase shadows. The simple prayer feels like a handclasp linking you to ancestors who once faced the same horizon. Breakfast begins in earnest. Someone pierces hunks of cured meat with a green stick and holds them over the revived flames. Fat drips and crackles, releasing a mouth-watering aroma that mingles with wood smoke. Another unrolls a parcel of dried berries and crushed nuts bound together with honey, passing small portions to the children first, then to those who will travel farthest. Children's laughter fills the clearing as they squabble good-naturedly over who got the larger piece, but all disputes dissolve in the shared sweetness. While you chew your share, you listen to the morning brief, an exchange of observations from the night watch and those who returned late. Tracks of a large stag were seen near the North Ridge. A patch of edible tubers was spotted near the riverbank. The wind carries a scent suggesting rain by late afternoon. Each detail is like a bead dropped onto a mental string, forming a chain of information everyone will wear mentally through the day. Communication is minimal but potent. A glance, a pointed chin, a gesture toward the treetops. You tidy your sleeping area, folding furs and sweeping away leaves to mask human scent from scavengers. It may seem trivial, but stray odors can lure unwanted visitors. Jackals, boars, even rival tribes looking for signs of weakness. Cleanliness is not vanity, it is defense. You weigh your pack, consider the terrain ahead, and remove a stone scraper you won't need, lightening your load. Optimization is instinct now. Energy saved here might tip the balance during the chase of prey or flight from danger. A young one tugs at your sleeve, wide-eyed, holding a fragment of bird's egg discovered near the camp edge. Its delicate shell is all pale blue and freckles, almost luminous in the newborn light. You crouch and examine it together, praising the child's sharp eye. Moments like these are more than education. They are glue weaving generations together. Knowledge transfer is conversation, game, treasure hunt, all disguised as play. Gradually, the clearing shifts from sleepy hush to organized bustle. Hunters form small clusters, comparing spear shafts, checking gut strings. Foragers knot baskets to belts braided from bark fibers. Toolmakers linger by the fire, using its heat to temper stone points. Every roll is critical, every motion purposeful. Yet underlying the industrious clatter is a quiet sort of joy. A humble acceptance that work done here echoes beyond individual ambition. Your labor is thread in the wider tapestry. Without it, the pattern would fray. You notice an elder approach the younger hunters, handing each a charcoal bead strung on a reed fiber. For luck, she mutters, pressing the cool beads into rough palms. The gesture is not superstition alone. Rubbing charcoal on exposed skin reduces glare, masks scent, and wards off insects. Practicality hides within blessing. Blessing elevates practicality into ritual. Time advances. The sky brightens. Shadows that stretched long and lean now shorten, tightening around feet like gathering ropes. The temperature climbs just enough to coax you to loosen your cloak, letting fresh air brush your collarbones. Somewhere in the mid-distance, a peal of birds erupts, signaling the sun's disk breaking fully free of the horizon. You raise a hand to shade your eyes, watching the golden orb ascend with a slow majesty that belies its daily consistency. You could never grow tired of this unveiling. Across cultures, those not yet born, those long since reduced to dust, sunrise has always been ceremony. Later civilizations will carve monuments to track its equinox alignments, will shape myths where chariots pull solar fire across the dome of sky. Yet here, in this stripped-down cradle of humanity, the ceremony is simpler. A collective pause, a breath held as the world brightens. You feel your pulse align with the sun's patient climb, as though blood and light share a cadence. Your thoughts drift briefly to future generations who will rise in stone dwellings, in steel towers, behind glass windows, greeted by alarm clocks rather than birdsong. Will they sense the same tingle of promise when first light touches their skin? Will they understand that the arc of the sun is not just a scientific fact, but an ancestral story written in warmth and shadow? You hope so. You hope the memory of mornings like this will persist in their bones, even if buried beneath centuries of new customs. A companion claps you on the shoulder, a signal it is time to move. Plans have solidified as naturally as condensation on cool leaves. You will take the path along the river to check fish traps and reposition nets. Another pair will track the stag. Foragers will shadow the hunter's partway, collecting edible greens along game trails. The elders and children will remain in camp, tasked with weaving, mending, and keeping fire alive. Before dissolving into action, the tribe forms a loose circle, a final tally of faces. No formal leader marks attendance. Instinct and familiarity do the counting. Someone offers a brief tale, just a few sentences, about a hunt from days past, where cooperation turned near disaster into bounty. The story is both reminder and motivation. Alone, the deer outran every spear. Together, they guided it toward the gorge and sealed their victory. Heads nod. Spirits lift. You shoulder your pack, feeling its comforting pressure against your spine. The straps carry the smell of smoke, leather, and wild grass, a scent you could find in dreams. You take a last swallow of water from a hollowed gourd, cork it with a palm-sized stopper of corkwood, and secure it with a sinew loop. Hydration, you know, is life. Stepping beyond the ring of trampled grass, you enter the woods where dawn's light scatters through branches and speckled mosaics. The air cools again, if only for a moment, beneath the canopy. Each footfall is a study in balance. Roll from heel to toe, avoid brittle twigs, steer clear of clattering stones. Your senses bloom outward, scanning for prints, for broken fronds, for the silent language of path and predator. Behind you, faint voices drift, snatches of laughter, a cough, the rhythmic whoosh of bellows feeding fresh fire. They recede but do not vanish, like threads still connected to your heart even as distance grows. You realize you do not fear the space between you and camp, because the line of belonging stretches with you wherever you roam. Home is not just a location tonight. It is an attitude carved into muscle and memory. We separate so we may reunite. We gather so we may thrive apart and together again. Historians might one day puzzle over the dual nature of early human mornings, at once tender and utilitarian, reverent and industrious. But living it, you find no contradiction. In greeting the sun, you honor life. In preparing tools, you preserve it. Ritual and labor are two sides of a stone blade. One edge sharp enough to cut through darkness, the other sturdy enough to shape wood into shelter. Soon the chatter of the river grows louder, promising silver scales, or at least cold, clean water to refill gourds. You quicken your pace, heart sensing to the humming of potential. There will be work, perhaps struggle, certainly discovery. There will be triumph, and maybe setback. Yet whatever the day holds, you carry the sunrise within you, its colors smeared across your memory like paint on canvas, its warmth nestled under your ribs. You pause at the riverbank, kneel, and let clear water run over your fingers. It is brisk, reminding you that mountain snows feed this stream. Life, you reflect, is a series of such reminders. That even the gentlest flow is born from distant heights, that every present comfort has roots in a past you may never witness. You glance upstream where the water twists around mossy boulders, forming eddies that will catch fallen leaves. Downstream, it widens into a calmer ribbon that mirrors the morning sky. Somewhere within that mirror swims your reflection, small, temporary, and fully alive. Lifting a net from the shallows, you discover 3 fish, their scales flashing like coinage in the sun. Not a feast, but a good omen. You whisper thanks to the river, then to the fish, fingers brushing their cold sides before sliding them into a woven basket. Gratitude is habit, a deliberate cultivation of reverence. It costs nothing yet nourishes everything. From this vantage, you can see the camp, a smudge of smoke among trees, and your heart tightens with affection. Dawn has completed its work, raising the tribe from dreams, kindling purpose, tying souls together with invisible golden thread. The gentle warmth that woke you hours ago now fills the whole sky, a promise realized. You rise, sling the basket over your shoulder, and turn toward the deeper forest path that will lead you to fresh tracks and new stories. Dawn's gift is complete. Now it is time to give something back. Your labor, your attentiveness, your courage. As you walk, the morning unfurls its vibrant promise. Dew glittering like tiny suns, pine resin perfuming the breeze, and your heartbeat sensing with the world itself. A quiet pledge that every sunrise deserves the courage of an open heart at its very core. Chapter 11. The morning light filters through the canopy, casting shifting mosaics of gold and lime on the forest floor, and you find yourself already moving with purpose. Dawn's hush, so gentle a few breaths ago, has lifted into a quiet bustle. Insects glide through sunbeams like drifting embers. Dew clings to fern fronds, and somewhere a woodpecker drums a percussive greeting against hollow bark. Last night's dreams dissolve completely as you straighten your spine, arms reaching overhead until the sinews in your back hum, and the joints in your shoulders crack with a satisfying pop. Sleep has evaporated. The day's first tasks wait. Among those tasks is one of the tribe's most uncelebrated but indispensable rituals, gathering firewood. No matter how thrilling the hunt or how riveting the evening stories, no matter how plentiful the meat or how artful the cave paintings, someone must always tend the hearth. Fire is breath, memory, defense, cuisine, council light, teacher and terminus for each day's labors. Without it, meat rots, predators prowl closer, night stabs with icy teeth. So the band fans out beneath the trees, eyes trained on fallen branches, ears tuned to the brittle snap of dead twigs. What might look like random foraging to an outsider is a choreography honed across generations. You stoop beside a rotting stump, testing each limb with a practiced twist. Too green. Leave it. Green wood smokes, wastes heat, and chokes the shelter with acrid fumes. Too punky. Toss it aside. Spongy wood collapses into ash too quickly to bother. Your fingers search for that sweet middle ground. Dry yet dense, aged yet intact. Soon your arm crooks around a bundle of wrist-thick branches. From habit, you sort as you go, finger-thin twigs for kindling to catch the first spark, forearm-sized sticks for a steady base, thigh-thick logs to anchor the evening blaze. It is an art form, though not one likely to dazzle the children around the campfire. Yet you have grown to respect it as keenly as you respect flint knapping or tracking. Artistry hidden in repetition. A short distance away, the morning soundtrack accrues layer by layer. Someone shakes a sapling to free a cluster of brittle limbs. They fall with the clatter of bone dice. Another swings a stone hand axe, lopping dead boughs with rhythmic thuds. Leaves rustle underfoot, squirrels scold intruders from above, and over it all threads the distant tenor of the river. Taken together, the sounds form a rough symphony, nature's drumline underscored by human intention. Pausing to adjust the load against your hip, you savor the scent that rises when sun-warmed needles are crushed under boot, resinous, sharp, and soothing. A low carpet of moss still clings to dawn's moisture, giving the air a cool, earthy sweetness that won't last past midday. As you breathe, you feel the thin film of dew on your hair evaporate, leaving only faint salt on your scalp. These small sensations are punctuation marks, reminding you the world is alive beneath every task. Anthropologists will one day debate how early humans regarded fire maintenance. Was it primarily utilitarian, or did it hold ceremonial weight? The truth, living it, is that the distinction hardly matters. When something feeds your belly, repels fangs, lights the painted walls of your spirit cave, and invites stories from the invisible, usefulness and reverence become twin faces of one flame. You suspect your descendants will still feel that duality in hearths, candles, stoves, and glowing screens. Different sparks, same heartbeat. A whoop rings out as one of the gatherers discovers a fallen pine struck by lightning seasons ago. Its heartwood remains hard as stone, perfect for slow-burning logs that will keep coals alive until tomorrow's dawn. Several rush to help, not in frantic haste, but measured coordination. Vines are stripped for lashings, limbs levered like pry bars, and soon the log slides toward camp on a path cleared of stones. There's no spoken leader in this effort. Initiative migrates organically between hands, and jokes fly as easily as commands. Someone teases another for his squeaking knees, laughter ricocheting among trunks, proof that hardship can coexist with humor. Back at the main hearth, the sparks of a new flame jump like tiny shooting stars. A woman crouches over a small nest of dry grass, coaxing life from flint and iron-rich stone. Each strike releases a flash. The tinder darkens, smolders, and finally blooms into a thread of fire. She lowers her face, lips pursed, feeding the ember with deliberate breaths, gentle enough not to scatter, firm enough to grow. When the grass ignites, she adds thumb-sized twigs, then larger shards of bark. Flames rise, licking the air with orange tongues, and a murmur of appreciation ripples through nearby watchers. It is always a marvel, no matter how many hundreds of times you witness it. While the fire matures, other preparations unfold. Two hunters squat near a flat stone, reshaping spear tips dulled in yesterday's chase. Sharp staccato taps of flint against bone cut through the morning hush. Shards fly, glinting briefly before disappearing into grass. Each chip removed is a calculated decision. Too few, the point remains blunt. Too many, it becomes brittle. Tools record the biography of their makers. Each microflaw a fingerprint, each resharpening a footnote. A trio of women unroll coil-woven baskets, inspecting willow bindings for fray. One plucks loose fibers like harp strings, then rewinds them with deft twists. Basket walls carry subtle stains of berry juice, ochre, and clay, souvenirs of past harvests. As repairs proceed, conversation flows effortlessly between them. Speculation about where the boar herd has migrated, praise for a child's mimicry of frog calls, gentle teasing over who set last night's snares crooked. Their dialogue is less about content than about glue. Language soldering minds as strongly as vines secure bundles of wood. Close by, a youth leads two toddlers along the clearing's edge, naming every plant within reach. He points to broad dock leaves suitable for wrapping food, yanks a bitter dandelion stem, and cautions against overindulgence, highlights the difference between nourishing red-stemmed sorrel and its look-alike cousin that leaves tongues numb. The little ones repeat words with solemn earnestness, faces glowing at each nod of approval. In this classroom without walls, lesson and livelihood are identical. Knowledge transfer equals calorie security. Taxonomy is tomorrow's full belly. The rhythm of the day feels measured, almost musical, intervals of focused labor balanced by rests of laughter or shared water. No ticking sundial dictates pace, yet the tribe's internal metronome keeps everything synchronized. You note, not for the first time, how community mediates exhaustion. A heavy task shared seems lighter. An individual skill witnessed inspires pride, not envy. Survival depends as much on cooperation as skill, and everyone here, elder to child, knows it in their bones. For a moment, you straighten and scan the treetops. The sun has climbed a handspan since dawn, gilding needles with liquid brass. Faint vapor still drifts from damp wood stacked near the fire, curling into air perfumed with pine pitch and distant wildflowers. The buzzing of insects intensifies as the day warms. You can almost mark the hour by which species joins the chorus. Jay calls slice the air. Above them drones the deeper thrumming of carpenter bees. Life exists in pulsating chords, each species singing its line. The forest, a living orchestra. A flicker of movement draws your gaze to the periphery. Beyond a screen of shrubs, a shaggy figure, partially glimpsed, pauses. It's only Tarek, the scout, returning earlier than expected. He lifts a hand in silent greeting, then kneels to whisper with the elder tending baskets. Even from here, you see her eyes flare wide, then soften into contemplative squints. Information passes, perhaps tracks of migrating elk spotted near the marsh, or prints of rival hunters on the southern ridge. News flows faster than fire spreads, shaping plans before voices ever gather around the council log. You tighten the knot around your bundle of firewood and stride back to camp. With habitual caution, you deposit kindling at the hearth's edge, larger logs purposefully stacked at a diagonal to allow airflow. A burst of sparks leaps as fresh fuel meets glowing core. You withdraw your hand in time, though a pinprick of heat lingers on your palm. Fire's brief kiss, reminder of its dual nature, friend or foe based only on respect. Work momentarily paused. You dip a wooden scoop into a gourd jar of water, drizzle a cool trickle across the back of your neck, and let droplets snake down your spine. The shock sharpens your senses and invites reflection. These routines, gather, sharpen, teach, tend, could be dismissed as mundane, but they underwrite every act of daring that will come. The hunt's silent sprint, the forge of stone into blade, the hush of twilight stories. Like roots feeding unseen beneath soil, morning chores nourish the day's blooming. Historians of future centuries will categorize eras by the refinement of their tools, the patterns of their migrations, the chemical traces in their cookware. But they might miss the heartbeat of ordinary dawns. The way one woman's laughter skitters across a pond's surface, the smell of sap on a hunter's fingers, the hush that falls whenever someone breathes life into spark and tinder. These intangible threads weave resilience as surely as sinew binds spearheads. A soft cough breaks your reverie. A gray-bearded elder approaches, his gait slow but steady, eyes alight with curiosity. He glances at the log you've placed and nods approval, then gestures for you to sit beside him on a flat rock warmed by the burgeoning sun. He begins a low-voiced tale, half reminder, half lesson, about the winter many seasons ago, when a lapse in fire tending left the cave bitterly cold, driving smoke into sleeping lungs and forcing a desperate nighttime scramble for fuel. His words are measured but vivid. You can almost feel icy drafts and taste panic. Yet the moral isn't scolding. It's communal memory offered like flint. You may strike sparks of wisdom from it if you wish. As the story concludes, children drift nearer, drawn by narrative gravity. Their eyes grow saucer-wide at descriptions of wolves circling in the blizzard's howl, and of a low member, shielded in a clay pot, sustaining hope through the longest night. The elder's voice lowers to a hush. He produces a fist-sized lump of scorched clay, cracked but intact. The very pot preserved his relic. Gasps flutter from the youngsters. You sense the weight of history balanced in fragile ceramic. and silently vow that no ember you guard will ever fail your tribe so gravely. Work resumes. You notice 2 hunters testing a new adhesive of heated resin, mixed with powdered charcoal, binding a stone point more securely to its shaft. Others weave sling cords from nettle fibers softened in stream water. Technology, you realize, evolves here in real time, not in distant laboratories, but under open sky by hands stained with forest soil. Innovation is incremental, born of necessity, and spread by observation rather than lecture. Midday approaches, signaled by the sun's brightness, and the first pangs of hunger rippling through bellies. A communal pause arises, as natural as the earlier surge of motion. From gathered stores, someone unwraps leaf-bundled portions of smoked fish. Another breaks open a leather pouch of roasted acorn meal sweetened with late summer honey. You sit in a loose circle, passing portions, trading bites, clinking hollowed horn cups in wordless toasts. Food tastes richer outdoors, flavored by toil, and the companionship of fire's aroma lingering on fingers. Conversation shifts to plans beyond survival. One mother mentions a vivid dream of red spirals painted on cavern walls. She wonders if tonight, after tasks are done, pigments might be ground from ochre rocks to capture the vision. An elder nods, seeing omen in color. A youth volunteers to collect the ochre, eager for creative glory. In this way, art buds from pragmatism, story from sustenance. Human spirit, you note, is as relentless as hunger. Breeze rustles overhead. Leaves shimmer, each a tiny mirror reflecting mid-morning luminosity. You lean back on elbows, feeling warm soil cradle your weight, and study the sky. A wedge of geese cuts across azure, wings beating ancient mathematics into air. Their V-shaped migration foretells seasonal change. Soon nights will lengthen, and wood gathering will escalate into stockpiling. The tribe cycle, like the geese's, is etched in bone and star. After the meal, tasks diverge. The young ones accompany gatherers to moss-flecked clearings where wild onions sprout. Hunters melt into shadows, pursuing signs of game hinted by Tarek's earlier news. You are assigned to fell a standing dead cedar, its trunk riddled with wood borer holes, yet still sturdy enough for multiple evenings' fuel. Accompanied by a companion, you approach the tree's base, assessing angle and wind. With stone adze and antler wedge you begin, each strike sending aromatic splinters flying. Sweat beads under your eyebrows. The scent of cedar resin mingles with your own musk, a perfume older than civilization. Thud after thud, the trunk weakens. You pause intermittently to rest wrists, sip water, survey the underbrush for lurking hazards. In those pauses, introspection creeps in. You marvel at the interplay of body and environment, muscle memory aligning with grain patterns, instincts honed by generations of trial. When the final wedge is driven, the tree groans, shudders, and tips. You and your partner step clear. The cedar falls with a crash, scattering needles and startling a flock of tiny birds into frantic flight. The ground quakes softly beneath your soles. You grin, exhilarated and a bit humbled. Harvesting such titans never feels cavalier. Stripping branches, sawing trunk into segments with flint-toothed scrapers, you fill the afternoon with purposeful rhythm. Occasionally, you spot carved notches left by ancestors seasons earlier, evidence they once harvested resin from this very tree for torches or sealant. History is not buried. It stands, grows, then topples to feed the present. Each ring inside the cedar disc you slice is a calendar of rains and droughts, storms, and calms unknown to any living soul, yet influencing every breath you now take. The sun begins its languid arc toward western slopes. Shadows lengthen, painting the forest floor in alternating bands of black and bronze. From somewhere upridge, a conch shell horn moans. 2 long calls, pause, 1 short. The signal means hunters returning, successful. Adrenaline flicks through camp. Fires will burn brighter tonight. Bellies will fill, stories will stretch late. Swiftly, you and others haul cedar sections back, muscles singing, but spirits buoyed by promise of meat sizzling and fat crackling on fresh flames. When the logs thud beside the hearth, sparks spout like gold fireflies. Cookstones are reheated, wooden spits prepared. Children dance around, trying to glimpse the carcass. An antelope, sleek and sizable, lashed to a wooden sled dragged by panting hunters. Laughter, chatter, overlapping thanks to unseen spirits. These weave a tapestry of communal relief. Another day of existence secured. As dusk approaches, you lower yourself near the reinvigorated fire, watching flames lick cedar resin in blue-green tongues. Smoke coils upward, carrying the day's many scents: sweat, cedar, antelope blood, crushed mint leaves scattered to freshen air. You feel every acorn, every callus throbbing. But beneath the tea blossoms a gentle joy. Today's tasks, though ordinary, stitched one more resilient seam in the tribe's long cloak of survival. You trace the memory of the morning, the dappled canopy light, the hush before tools rang, the patient coaxing of ember into flame. Each moment now glows inside you like a tiny coal. Without ceremony, the head woman settles nearby and passes a cup of river water steeped with willow bark. Its bitterness eases muscle pangs. You nod gratitude. She meets your eyes, wordlessly acknowledging the cedar you felled, the wood you stacked, the continuity you served. In that look resides both leadership and kinship. Night is close, but Section 11's story ends not with darkness, but with ember-bright confidence. Tomorrow will bring new chores: bone carving, hide scraping, pathfinding. But the patterns laid down today will guide each step. You breathe in, holding cedar-sweet air at the top of your lungs, then exhale slowly, surrendering all tension into dusk. This is life in its primordial fullness. Sweat alongside song, labor braided with lore, practicality crowned by flashes of wonder. You lean back, gaze at the first sharpening star, and know you are exactly where humankind forged its earliest identity, between forest and fire, in the ever-beating heart of communal dawns and dusk. Chapter 12. As the sun climbs steadily, casting long, warming rays over your campsite, you notice a shift in the atmosphere. The chatter grows softer, replaced by focused concentration, as the group turns to preparing for the hunt. There's a practiced urgency in the way sharpened spears are checked and slings adjusted, a silent acknowledgement that today's success hinges on precision and patience. You find yourself admiring the craftsmanship of the weapons. The spear tips are carefully flaked from flint, their edges razor sharp, each one a testament to countless hours honing skill and technique. The shafts are smooth, shaped to balance perfectly in hand. You remember how your own spear took weeks to finish, a labor of love mixed with the need for survival. Hunting isn't just about brute force. It's a delicate dance with nature, requiring knowledge of animal behavior, terrain, and timing. Your group moves out in practiced formation, stepping lightly to avoid snapping twigs and sending warnings to prey. The leader pauses occasionally, finger raised, signaling a halt as they scan for signs. A broken branch, fresh tracks, a flicker of movement in the brush. Historians still debate the extent to which early humans hunted in organized groups versus opportunistic solo pursuits. Some evidence suggests that coordinated strategies were common, hinting at complex communication and social structures far earlier than once thought. As you settle into the rhythm of the hunt, you're aware of the heightened senses all around. Eyes sharpen, ears strain for the faintest noise, noses sniff the wind for scents. Every sense is tuned to the environment, a living radar. Suddenly, a subtle movement catches your eye, a flash of tawny fur between the trees. The group freezes. Time seems to stretch as you collectively hold your breath. The prey pauses, then moves again, cautiously stepping forward. You grip your spear tighter, heart pounding in time with the tension. The moment is electric, charged with anticipation and centuries of inherited instinct. Then, with a coordinated signal, the hunters spring into action. Spears fly, voices whisper commands, feet pound the earth in pursuit. The chase is brief but intense, culminating in a triumphant moment as the prey is brought down. The adrenaline fades quickly, replaced by a profound sense of accomplishment and gratitude. You approach the catch, running your fingers over its sleek fur, appreciating the life it sustained and the effort it took. There's an unspoken respect in the way the group treats the kill, a ritual honoring the balance between hunter and hunted. It's not just survival, it's a covenant with nature. You catch yourself smiling, despite exhaustion, knowing this cycle has played out countless times before you and will continue long after. As you begin the careful process of preparing the prey for transport, you feel the weight of your place in this enduring story. A story woven with sweat, skill, and shared purpose. The forest hums quietly around you, and you breathe deeply, ready to carry the day forward. Chapter 13. The late afternoon sun begins its slow descent, casting long golden beams through the towering trees and splashing the forest floor with warm, shifting patches of light. The air holds that soft haze unique to this hour, neither the sharp brightness of noon nor the cool hush of evening, but a kind of tender glow that seems to pause time itself. You are back at camp now, your arms laden with the day's spoils. Fresh game secured by your companions and yourself, the reward of hours spent tracking, stalking, and swift pursuit. Every muscle hums with fatigue, but your step carries a tired satisfaction, the kind that roots deep into your bones, telling you that this day has been well spent and the meal ahead well earned. Setting down the catch near the fire pit, you move with deliberate care, understanding the sacredness of what lies before you. The communal ritual of butchering and preparing the meat unfolds like a dance passed down from countless generations. It's messy, earthy work, raw and immediate. Fingers and tools, flint blades sharpened to razor edges, antler picks worn smooth by use, move with practiced precision through muscle and sinew, peeling the skin away, exposing tender flesh beneath. Fat is rendered slowly and carefully, dripping into the fire or collected to be saved for future cooking. Bones are cracked, marrow extracted with reverent efficiency, the creamy richness seen as a precious treasure. The fire, rekindled from earlier embers and coaxed back to roaring life by fresh kindling, responds eagerly to the gift. Flames lick eagerly at strips of meat skewered above the coals, their heat promising not just nourishment but comfort, warmth against the creeping chill of approaching night. Sparks fly upward, mingling with drifting smoke, creating a swirling dance that carries the primal perfume of cooked meat and the forest's damp earth. You settle nearby, the flickering glow illuminating faces both young and old. Around you, stories begin to flow, tales told and retold, the very lifeblood of your tribe's shared memory. The elders recount legendary hunts, speaking of cunning plans to trap swift deer or to outwit the elusive boar. Laughter bubbles up as someone mocks the clumsy leap of a younger hunter or reminisces about the last night's chorus of snores echoing through the cave. Food here is more than mere sustenance. It is a social glue, binding individuals into a collective whole. The ritual of sharing, teaching, and celebrating over a meal is as vital to survival as the hunt itself. Younger ones listen with wide eyes, soaking up stories and lessons with a hunger as eager as for the meat before them. Their curiosity is palpable, faces illuminated by the fire's golden hues, ready to carry the knowledge forward into their own futures. Across millennia, historians have debated how early humans first mastered cooking. Some propose that fire's use for cooking was an accident, a byproduct of controlled burns or abandoned campfires. Others suggest a deliberate experimentation with heat, a defining moment in human evolution. Cooking unlocked new flavors, made previously inedible foods digestible, and improved nutritional uptake. It may have catalyzed the development of social behaviors around the hearth, encouraging prolonged interaction, cooperation, and the sharing of knowledge. For you, the fire is both a familiar friend and a symbol of this evolutionary triumph, a source of life as vital as the earth beneath your feet. As the light dims and night begins its slow cloak, your thoughts drift back to the approaching rest. You feel the comforting weight of your fur blanket once again. Its soft, rough weave a tactile reminder of security and kinship. The presence of your tribe, settling around you, anchors your spirit. The hum of breathing, shifting bodies, and the crackle of the fire compose a lullaby older than any spoken word. Outside the circle, the first stars appear, tentative pinpricks against the deepening velvet of the sky. They blink awake one by one, ancient watchers, silent and steady in their celestial posts. Above the painted cave walls that hold your people's stories, under the watchful eyes of ancestors both living and departed, you feel the profound truth of belonging. The herbs laid nearby for sleep and protection, the ever-watchful sentries who guard against unseen threats, the shared warmth of community, all fade softly into memory as your consciousness begins its slow journey toward rest. Your breath deepens, falling into a rhythm that matches the steady pulse of the fire and the gentle noises of the night. You close your eyes, comforted by the knowledge that you are part of a story as old as humanity itself. A story told in flames, whispered in winds, and carried in the hearts of those who came before and those yet to come. Chapter 14. The night settles once again over the camp, cool and quiet, wrapping everything in a soft, velvet cloak that muffles the edges of the world. It is a darkness both familiar and profound, thick enough to blur shapes, but not so heavy as to smother the senses. You lie still, wrapped in layers of furs gathered from past hunts, their coarse textures pressed close against your skin. The weight of the blanket is grounding, a tangible link to the living bodies around you and the earth beneath. You feel the gentle rise and fall of the fire's glow as it flickers against the cave walls, casting shadows that sway like silent sentinels guarding the night's fragile peace. There's a subtle shift in the air, a nearly imperceptible hush, as if the world itself is holding its breath. The usual chorus of the forest by day has faded away, replaced by a quieter, more secret soundscape. You remember the day's noises, the rustle of leaves stirred by playful winds, the sharp call of birds navigating the branches, the rhythmic crunch of feet against the forest floor as hunters track their prey. Now those sounds have softened and changed character, retreating into the distance like echoes across a vast canyon. In their place rises a nocturnal symphony, the distant, persistent chirping of crickets forming a steady heartbeat for the night, the occasional soft hoot of an owl perched somewhere just beyond sight, and the subtle skitter of small creatures moving cautiously through underbrush. These natural night noises are a balm to your frayed mind, weaving the soothing tapestry that helps ease your thoughts and slow the racing pulse of the day. They remind you that life continues even in darkness, quiet but unbroken. Your thoughts drift across time, to the countless nights your ancestors spent in this same intimate dance with the darkness. Without the glow of artificial lights or the hum of machines, the night was both friend and mystery, a space of shelter and threat intertwined. Firelight was precious, a small island of warmth and safety in the vast unknown. The flickering flames not only chased back the shadows, but also gathered people close, binding them with stories, laughter, and the unspoken comfort of shared presence. Sleep was no simple surrender, but a delicate balance of trust and vigilance. Your predecessors learned to listen, to the rustle of leaves that might signal a predator, the crack of a twig that might mean danger, or the quiet breathing of their kin nearby. Their sleep was intertwined with wakefulness, a cyclical rhythm finely tuned to the world around them, rather than to clocks or strict schedules. Historians and anthropologists still debate the prevalence of segmented sleep among early humans, whether they commonly experienced nights broken into phases of rest and quiet wakefulness. Some believe that after a first sleep lasting a few hours, people would naturally awaken for an hour or two before settling into a second sleep, using this time for storytelling, ritual, prayer, or reflection. These wakeful moments might have been as important socially as they were biologically, fostering community bonds in the deep stillness of night. As your breathing deepens, you find yourself drawn into that ancient rhythm, your mind slipping into cycles of calm sleep, punctuated by brief moments of consciousness. You sense the night not as a block of unconsciousness, but as a flowing journey, one that embraces awareness even in rest. A soft wind rustles the cave entrance, carrying with it the faint scent of pine needles crushed by passing creatures, and the damp earth warmed by the day's sun, but cooled by night's embrace. You breathe in slowly, feeling the coolness settle on your skin like a gentle caress, a reminder of the vast world beyond your shelter and the cycles that bind all life. Your body feels heavier now, sinking deeper into the bedding of leaves and furs. Muscles loosen and unwind, knots of tension melting away with the slow passage of time. Thoughts untangle like threads pulled free from a tangled skein, drifting toward peaceful nothingness. The fur blanket presses warmly against you, a protective shroud that guards against the night chill and the unseen. Somewhere nearby, a low murmur rises, a song, perhaps, or a whispered prayer. It is fragile and tentative, rising and falling like a breeze through leaves, wrapping around you with quiet comfort. You imagine the voices of your tribe blending together, weaving a chorus of hope and resilience in the dark. The night enfolds you completely, a silent guardian guiding you through rest and renewal. The cycles of light and dark, wakefulness and sleep, protection and vulnerability are threads woven into the fabric of your being. You know that when dawn comes again, you will rise to meet it, just as countless generations before you have done, carried forward by the eternal rhythms of the natural world. Chapter 15. The faint first light of dawn begins to brush the horizon, soft and tentative like a whispered promise that unfolds slowly in the cool hush of early morning. The deep shadows of night, so thick and enveloping only moments before, now gradually recede, melting away beneath the gentle flood of pale blue and silver that spills from the awakening sky. It is a transformation as old as time itself, a silent testament to the eternal cycle that governs all life. Your breath comes slower now, deeper and more measured, sensing perfectly with the slow, deliberate stirring of the world outside your shelter. You lie still, cocooned in the familiar comfort of layered furs. The coarse textures press reassuringly against your skin, carrying the scent of smoke and earth, of animals hunted and nights survived. Beneath you, the ground feels solid and familiar. Above, the faint rustle of leaves whispers the day's arrival. You feel the lingering warmth from the fire that burned through the night, now reduced to glowing embers cradled in ash, and the steady pulse of your own heartbeat, a quiet rhythm that connects you not only to the present moment, but to the countless generations who have breathed this same air before you. The morning air is crisp, tinged with the fresh scents of wet earth and pine needles crushed underfoot by nocturnal creatures. The smell is rich and grounding, a natural perfume carried on the soft breeze that slips through the entrance of your shelter. It serves as a quiet reminder that the cycle of day and night is unbroken, a steady pulse on which all life depends, a rhythm that has shaped the patterns of your ancestors, woven through their stories and survival alike. As you breathe in this pure, fresh air, your thoughts drift back over the journey of the night just past, the vigilant watch kept by sentries stationed around the camp, their eyes sharp even in dim light. The warm, flickering firelight dancing across the rough cave walls, illuminating ancient handprints and the faded pigments of long-forgotten stories painted in ochre and charcoal. You remember the lullabies carried on the night wind, melodies without words, but rich with meaning, a chorus of hope and protection whispered softly into the dark. All these moments weave together seamlessly, like threads in a vast tapestry of rest and resilience. The fabric of your tribe's life is built upon these small acts, repeated across time: the tending of fire, the care for one another, the cycles of waking and sleeping that knit your community tightly together. You feel a deep sense of belonging, rooted in these ancient rhythms. You imagine your ancestors, lying beside you now in their own simple shelters, under the same endless sky. They share your view of the stars, those ancient, shimmering pinpricks of light slowly fading as dawn takes hold. Their stories, fears, and hopes resonate silently across the ages, echoes carried on the wind that slips through the trees. You are part of this living legacy, woven into a timeless story told not with words alone but with breath, heartbeat, and the quiet knowledge passed from one generation to the next. The fire's embers glow faintly before you, a final flicker against the dark stones of the hearth. Though the flames have died down, their warmth lingers like a gentle pulse, a steady heartbeat that soothes and reassures. You feel the comforting weight of your fur blanket wrapped snugly around you, the warmth of your companions nearby, and the reassuring sense of life continuing forward, unceasing, enduring, eternal. Your eyelids grow heavy once more, this time filled with a calm certainty that rest is both an ending and a beginning. A soft, endless circle that turns ceaselessly with the turning of the earth. You feel the peace that comes from knowing you belong to something vast, ancient, and enduring. An unbroken chain of life that stretches backward through millennia and forward into the unknown. Slowly, gently, your breathing slows, your muscles relax, and your mind begins to drift off into the timeless embrace of sleep. The world around you dims, leaving only the comforting darkness, the steady warmth of embers, and the soft murmur of the night. Now dim the lights once more in your mind's eye. Let your breath soften and deepen. Feel yourself sinking deeper into the comfort of your furs, the protective circle of your tribe, and the soothing rhythm of the natural world. The night stories have been told, the embers have cooled, and the ancient rhythms pulse softly beneath your skin, connecting you to all who have rested before. Remember, sleep is not just rest. It is a bridge to dreams, a quiet healing, and a gentle gift from the earth itself. It is a sacred space where the body renews and the spirit travels, where the past meets the present, and the future is quietly prepared. Good night, and may your dreams carry you softly until the dawn.